unexpected turn with my alien roommate Evan Hale never thought his life would become interesting because of housing paperwork. He was a systems engineer, not a hero. His job on Kepler 9 station was simple: keep the power flowing, fix what broke, and avoid politics between alien species that argued more than broken machines ever did. He had signed up for off-world work because it paid well and because space was quieter than Earth. At least it was supposed to be. It changed the moment he opened the door to his assigned living unit. Standing inside the small room was a tall alien figure, thin and sharp in shape, with skin that looked like dark crystal catching the station lights. Its eyes were large, glowing softly like polished glass. Its posture was perfectly straight, as if gravity itself respected it. The alien turned its head with smooth precision. "You are late," it said in perfect, emotionless common speech. "What?" Evan blinked. Sorry? I didn't know I had a roommate already." "You were scheduled to arrive 14 minutes earlier," the alien replied. "Your delay has been noted." Evan stared for a moment, then sighed and dropped his bag on the floor. "Great," he muttered. "First day and I'm already being judged." The alien tilted its head slightly. "Judgment implies emotion. This is observation." Pop. That was Evan's first meeting with Sareth of the Varelian Collective. The Varelians were known across the galaxy for 3 things: intelligence, logic, and a complete lack of humor. It believed emotion slowed decision-making and that unpredictability was a flaw. Humans, according to most Varelian records, were walking unpredictability. Sareth had not requested a human roommate. Evan had not requested an alien one. The station administration, however, believed shared living environments promoted mutual understanding. So far, it was not going well. Sareth organized the room perfectly. Every object had a location, every surface was clean. Evan's bag, however, was considered a problem. "You have placed your belongings in a random cluster," Sareth said. "It's called a bag," Evan replied. "That's where stuff goes." "Yes, randomly." Evan smiled slightly. "You'll survive." Sareth did not smile back. The first few days passed in quiet tension. Evan worked long shifts repairing aging systems that no one else wanted to deal with. Kepler 9 was an old station, built back when humans were still considered minor players in interstellar politics. Newer species had better technology, but they relied heavily on automation. Humans, Evan noticed, were usually the ones fixing things when automation failed. Sareth spent most of its time recording data. Evan noticed small glowing symbols appearing in the air whenever the alien observed him. He didn't ask about them. He already knew the answer. "You are studying me, aren't you?" Evan asked one evening while adjusting a loose wall panel. "Doe!" "Yes," Sareth replied calmly. "Human behavior is inefficient but adaptable. The collective wishes to understand why your species continues to survive despite poor design." Evan laughed softly. "Wow. That's not insulting at all." "Insults are emotional," Sareth said. "This is statistical. Things changed on the 5th night. Evan had just returned from a long repair shift when the station lights flickered. Once, twice. Then they went out completely. Emergency lights activated, casting red shadows along the corridor. A low alarm echoed through the station. Sareth stood instantly. "Power failure in 3 sectors," it said. "This should not be possible." "Yeah," Evan said, grabbing his toolkit. "Welcome to Kepler 9. They stepped into the hallway where other residents had begun to panic. Different species shouted in different languages. Some froze in place, waiting for instructions from station command. Evan checked his wrist device. "No official response yet," he said. "Went on?" "That is unacceptable," Sareth replied. "Without authorization, action cannot be taken." Evan looked at the dark corridor ahead. "Watch me," he said. He moved fast, heading toward the nearest maintenance junction. The station maps were old, and many newer species didn't bother learning them. Evan had memorized them years ago, back when he was still trying to prove humans belonged in space. He opened a panel and began rerouting power manually. Sareth watched in silence. "You are violating safety protocol," the alien said. "Yeah," Evan replied. "But if I don't, life support goes next." Sareth paused. That outcome had not been calculated. Within minutes, power returned to the nearby sector. Lights flickered back to life. Woo! The alarm softened. Nearby residents stared at Evan in surprise. That wasn't scheduled, Sarah said quietly. Neither was the failure, Evan replied. Praise you fix it. That's life. Sareth recorded everything. The station-wide alert came moments later. Unidentified external interference detected. All residents remain in place. The message repeated in multiple languages. Evan frowned. External interference? That's new. Sareth's eyes glowed brighter. There are no known hostile forces in this region. Well, Evan said, tightening a bolt, there weren't supposed to be power failures either. The station shook slightly. Just enough for everyone to feel it. Fear spread fast. Species with advanced technology waited for command instructions that never came. Automated defense systems failed to activate. Drones remained inactive. Evan looked around. Okay, he said under his breath. Guess it's one of those days. He turned to Sareth. Can you access station sensors? Yes, Sareth replied. But authorization. Forget authorization, Evan said. And you see what's causing this? Sareth hesitated. For the first time, it hesitated. Yes, it finally said. What it found made no sense. Something outside the station was emitting a signal designed to confuse automated systems. It wasn't attacking directly, just waiting, watching. Whoever this is, Evan said, studying the data, they know how stations like this think. They are exploiting reliance on automation, Sareth said slowly. Yeah, Evan nodded. Big mistake. Sareth turned toward him. Explain. Humans don't rely on one system, Evan said. We expect things to fail. That's why we learn backups. He shut down a damaged control node and restarted it manually. Way! Across the station, systems began stabilizing. The shaking stopped. The unknown signal remained. Sareth watched the data scroll in silence. You are operating without full information, it said. Evan smiled faintly. Welcome to being human. Hours later, the station returned to partial control. Command finally issued instructions, though it was clear they were reacting rather than leading. Sareth stood beside Evan in their living unit as reports flooded in. Your actions prevented significant loss of life, Sareth said. One, Evan shrugged. Just did my job. That is inaccurate, Sareth replied. Your job did not authorize independent decision-making. Evan looked at the alien. Sometimes, he said, doing the right thing matters more than permission. Sareth processed that statement for a long time. Outside the viewport, distant stars burned quietly. The unknown presence had not left. It was still watching. Sareth finally spoke again. Human Evan Hale, it said, your species may be more dangerous than previously calculated. Evan raised an eyebrow. Dangerous good or dangerous bad? Sareth did not answer. Somewhere beyond Kepler, 9-something had learned an important lesson. Humans were not as weak as the galaxy believed, and this was only the beginning. Kepler P9 station did not return to normal. The surface, lights were on, corridors were stable, and life support was holding. But under that calm layer, fear had settled deep into the metal walls, and everyone knew something was wrong. Systems had failed too perfectly. The unknown signal outside the station had not been an accident. Evan Hale felt it while walking through the engineering deck. Machines were running, but they sounded tired, like they were waiting to break again. Behind him, Sareth walked in complete silence. You are uneasy, Sarah said. Evan didn't look back. Yeah, that's usually when bad stuff happens. Sareth processed that. Your species associates intuition with danger. We associate experience with danger, Evan replied. Big difference. The station council finally gathered. Presidentials from 12 species appeared on large holographic screens. Each spoke carefully, slowly, following formal protocol. No one wanted to be responsible for the next decision. Sareth stood straight beside Evan, observing. The interference signal has not attacked again, one delegate said. Therefore, we should wait. Yes, another agreed. Provoking an unknown force could escalate the situation. Evan crossed his arms. Or it could give them time to prepare. The room went quiet. You are not recognized as a strategic authority, a tall, insect-like delegate said. Humans are maintenance staff. Evan nodded. Wow, true. But when your systems went down, who fixed them? No one answered. Sareth noticed several delegates adjusting their posture. That was fear. While the council argued, the station shook again, this time harder. Emergency alarms screamed across multiple sectors. Power dropped in residential areas. Gravity fluctuated, throwing people against walls. Evan grabbed the nearest rail. That wasn't a test, he said. Sareth's eyes glowed brightly. The signal has changed frequency. It is actively probing station defenses. And your defenses are still arguing, Evan replied. Without waiting, he ran. Sareth followed. In the lower habitation ring, chaos ruled. Several species panicked when gravity briefly dropped to half strength. Children floated helplessly. Containers smashed into walls. Automated systems tried and failed to compensate. Evan slid across the floor, grabbed a drifting child from a small reptilian species, and pushed them safely to a wall. Stay here, he shouted. Hold the rail. He moved fast, adjusting gravity regulators manually. Sweat dripped down his face, but his hands stayed steady. Sareth watched closely. You are risking personal injury, Sareth said. Welcome to emergency response, Evan replied. A support beam cracked above them. Evan shoved Sareth aside just before it fell. The beam slammed into the floor where Sareth had been standing. Sareth froze. Web. That outcome had not existed in any prediction model. Why did you do that? Sareth asked after the danger passed. Evan took a deep breath. 'Cause you were there. That response is illogical, Sareth said. Your survival probability would have increased had you moved alone. Evan looked at the alien. Humans don't calculate survival like that. Sareth recorded nothing this time. It simply watched. Across the station, evacuation orders were delayed. Automated routes kept failing. Alien species that relied on perfect systems froze without instructions. Evan did not. He took control of a local emergency channel. This is Engineer Evan Hale, he said. Listen carefully. If your systems are down, follow the manual lights. Ignore automated paths. Move now! Some listened. Wide have hinted the joke. Some hesitated. Humans did not. Human workers spread through the station, guiding others, lifting debris, sharing oxygen packs without hesitation. Sareth observed something new. Humans did not wait for command. They became command. Suddenly stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Range. Its posture stiffened. There is an object emerging from subspace, it said. Crow. Evan looked at the display. A ship appeared outside the station. It was massive, dark, and shaped nothing like known designs. Its surface shifted, almost alive. That's not friendly, Evan said quietly. No, Sareth replied. It's a Harvester-class probe. Evan frowned. That sounds bad. They are designed to observe, weaken, and mark targets for future invasion, Sareth said. Evan clenched his jaw. Mark targets like, Earth? Sareth did not answer immediately. Yes, it finally said. The council panicked. Emergency votes were called. Delegates demanded full retreat. Some suggested abandoning Kepler, 9 entirely. Evan listened for 10 seconds. Then he turned away. What are you doing? Sareth asked. Saving time, Evan said. Arguing won't stop that thing. You do not possess authority, Sareth warned. Evan stopped and looked at him. Neither do fear and delay. Evan accessed an old defense platform attached to the station. It was outdated, mostly ignored, and powered down decades ago. Sareth stared at the interface. This system is inefficient and obsolete. Exactly, Evan said, which means it's not connected to the main network. The Harvester probe released another signal. This time, it failed to affect Evan's system. The probe paused. That caught its attention. Evan said with a small smile. Sareth watched in disbelief as Evan manually aligned the platform. Was weak. The technology was old, but the energy burst struck the probe's outer layer. Not enough to destroy it, but enough to damage its sensor array. The probe pulled back slightly. It had not expected resistance. For the first time, the station council fell silent. Sarah's data streams exploded with new calculations. Human behavior introduces unacceptable uncertainty, Sarah said slowly. You disrupt predictive models. Evan nodded. Yeah, that's kind of our thing. The probe retreated into a holding position. It did not leave. It did not attack it. Evan leaned back, exhausted. That's a scout, he said, which means something bigger might come later. Sarah turned to him. The collective must be warned, it said. Good, Evan replied. Then tell them the truth. Sarah hesitated. What truth? It asked. That humans won't sit still and wait to be wiped out, Evan said. And we don't fight the way others expect. Sarah looked at the station, damaged but standing, alive because of unplanned actions. I will transmit a report, it said. Evan smiled tiredly. Make it a good one. As the message was sent, far away, deep within Varelian space, ancient minds began to read, and for the first time in centuries, the word human appeared in a threat assessment file, not as a weakness, but as a variable that could not be controlled. Outside Kepler 9, the Harvester probe waited. It was learning, and humanity was about to be noticed. News traveled fast in human space, faster than the Varelian collective, or any other advanced species, expected. A Harvester probe had approached Kepler 9 station, testing its systems. It had retreated, but the warning it carried was clear. Something bigger was coming. Evan Hale sat in the observation deck, staring at the stars. The station had mostly recovered, but tension hung in the corridors like a storm cloud. Sareth stood beside him, still silent, analyzing every movement, every glance. Looks like we're not the only ones watching, Evan said. Sareth did not respond immediately. Glowing eyes focused on a distant cluster of ships moving through human space. Your species responds differently than expected, it finally said. Evan shrugged. We don't wait for permission. Waiting gets people killed. On Earth, the news of the Harvester fleet's approach caused panic among other species, but humans reacted with preparation, not fear. Civilian ships were converted into evacuation transports. Engineers, miners, pilots, even students and farmers volunteered to support the defense effort. Sareth watched from Kepler 9 sensors, unable to believe what it saw. Humans were organizing fleets, creating supply chains, and retrofitting old cargo ships for combat. Every decision seemed chaotic at first glance, but each piece fell into place perfectly when viewed from the bigger picture. They are improvising, Sareth said, without central authority. Evan grinned. Improvisation is our specialty. Back on Kepler 9, the station's residents prepared for the worst. Systems were reinforced, manual overrides were tested. Everyone knew that waiting for help from the distant council would not be enough. Humans took responsibility, as they always had. Evan worked alongside Sareth to strengthen the station's communications. While Sareth calculated probabilities and ran simulations, Evan tapped into every old network and every backup system he could find. Humans did not wait for perfect conditions. They acted, learned, and adapted in real time. The alien had been trained to analyze efficiency, but human methods defied efficiency. They relied on creativity, instinct, and courage. Sareth could not assign a numerical value to such adaptability. When the Harvester probe returned, it approached faster this time, scanning Kepler. Back even when the joke man, its surface shimmered like liquid metal, adjusting to avoid detection. Evan did not panic. He climbed to a higher platform, adjusting old sensor arrays. Okay, Sareth, here's what we do. You handle the scans, I handle the reroutes. Let's show it. Humans don't back down. The probe unleashed another pulse of interference. Lights flickered. Gravity shifted. Automated systems went haywire. Residents froze. Evan moved through the chaos like it was normal. He manually rerouted the station's energy grid, stabilized life support, and used magnetic clamps to prevent critical doors from jamming. People followed his lead, trusting him without hesitation. Sareth followed closely, assisting as best it could. It began to see a pattern in human behavior. Humans expected failure and acted anyway, while Other species relied on flawless systems. Humans thrived in imperfection. The probe withdrew again, scanning. But humans were learning, adapting, and resisting in ways it had not predicted. Evan noticed a small weak point in the probe's energy shield. Daughters and improvised targeting arrays. He fired a shot that struck the probe precisely where it hurt the most. The probe faltered, its outer shell flickering, sensors malfunctioning. Humans cheered quietly, but no one celebrated. They knew it was only a temporary victory. Sareth recorded everything in amazement. "Your species calculates risk differently," it said. "Risk is nothing if it keeps people alive," Evan replied. Sareth paused. "Ooh." The alien had never seen courage quantified as instinct and care. This was different from efficiency. Across human space, the situation escalated. The probe was not alone. The tip of unknown alien ships moved toward Earth. Most species debated whether to fight, flee, or hide. Humans launched their fleets immediately. Small civilian ships were armed, cargo vessels were converted into troop transports, and every pilot, soldier, and volunteer knew their role. Evan and Sareth were assigned to a forward unit. Their mission was simple: monitor the fleet, repair ships on the move, and keep communication lines open. Simple in theory, dangerous in practice. When the alien fleet arrived, humans appeared underprepared on paper. Their ships were older, smaller, and less advanced than the enemy, but they moved unpredictably, using gravity slingshots, decoys, and formations that the alien AI could not anticipate. Sareth calculated probabilities again. Each maneuver seemed suicidal. Cook. Each succeeded. "Their behavior is illogical," it said. "Yeah," Evan said with a smile. "Humans aren't always logical, but we survive." During the engagement, human ingenuity shone. A civilian engineer named Mara used magnetic tethers to redirect an enemy drone into its own fleet. Pilots used outdated ships in kamikaze-style decoys, not to die, but to confuse enemy targeting systems. Supply convoys carried fuel and weapons in precise improvisation. Evan worked with Sareth to repair damaged ships on the fly, often standing on moving decks as sparks flew around him. Sareth could not understand how humans stayed calm under chaos. "They operate under extreme conditions without hesitation," it said. "That's called experience," Evan said. "We've had plenty of practice." Sareth processed that. Human history was full of disasters, wars, and diseases. Humans survived them all. Perhaps that was why. By the second day, the alien fleet realized humans were not predictable targets. Their algorithms failed. Ships expected to surrender retreated, only to encounter humans in unexpected positions. The Harvester probe from Kepler-9 rejoined the fleet, but humans had already damaged its sensors. Sareth watched as Evan coordinated manual repairs in the heat of battle. Rose. Every decision was made in real time, without hesitation, and every outcome defied the expected probabilities. "Your species is dangerous," Sarah said finally. Evan paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "Dangerous good, right?" Sareth did not answer. Its calculations could not determine whether humans were good or bad, only that they were unpredictable, resilient, and relentless. The fleet eventually retreated, confused and frustrated. Human losses were real, but minimal compared to the enemy's failure to anticipate them. Ships returned to Earth orbit for resupply. Sareth finally spoke, quietly. "The collective underestimates humans. They are adaptive, apex survivors." Evan laughed softly. "Well, we're still learning." "Yes," Sarah said, "and that is why your species is remarkable." Evan looked at him. "Remarkable, huh?" A word coming from someone who studies efficiency. Sareth's eyes glowed softly. "Remarkable is appropriate." That night, as ships were repaired and crews rested, Evan and Sareth sat together, looking out at Earth from orbit. Cities glimmered like scattered jewels. Life went on. People slept, worked, argued, and loved. And humans had survived another threat no one expected. Sareth was silent for a long time. Then it asked, "Do humans always survive disasters?" "Most of the time," Evan said. "Sometimes barely, but we keep going." "It's what we do." Sareth processed the words. "Ooh." Logic could not fully explain it. Protocols, probability, efficiency, all failed to capture what humans accomplished. They are unpredictable, Sareth finally said. Yeah, Evan replied, but don't underestimate us. The alien nodded slowly. Its view of humanity had changed. Humans were not weak. They were not chaotic in the way the collective assumed. Courageous and surprisingly clever. The stars outside seemed quieter now, but the unknown fleet still existed somewhere, waiting. Humans had survived today. Dub. Tomorrow they would survive again, because they always did. And Sareth realized something else. Humans were dangerous in a way no one had calculated. They refused to give up. The galaxy had expected predictable, controlled behavior. Whoa. It had miscalculated. Humans were about to prove it again. The alien fleet had retreated, but the galaxy had not forgotten humanity. Evan Hale watched the stars from the bridge of the repair vessel Aurora alongside Sareth. Earth lay far below, shining with blue and green beauty. For the first time, Sareth seemed to consider humans differently, not as chaotic, fragile creatures, but as adaptable, resilient, and capable of extraordinary ingenuity. The report Sareth had sent back to the Varelian Collective was being read even now. It described humans in words the collective had never used: unpredictable, courageous, persistent, adaptive. They are dangerous, Sareth said softly, echoing its earlier words. Yeah, Evan replied, smiling faintly. Dangerous good, remember? Sareth's eyes glowed brighter, as if processing the phrase for the 100th time. Back on Earth, humans mobilized quickly. Scientists designed new defenses. Pilots tested strategies that relied on improvisation and speed, not brute force. Even ordinary civilians contributed. Farmers guided ships using agricultural drones retrofitted for reconnaissance. Engineers repaired old ships and weapons that were long thought obsolete. Humanity did not wait for council permission, for complex strategies, or for perfect calculations. Humans acted first and adapted as they went. Sareth observed all of this. Ooh. For a Varelian, it was astonishing. The collective had long relied on simulation, efficiency, and strict planning. Humans defied all of it. They adapt faster than prediction allows, Sareth said. They respond to unknown threats with creativity and courage. Exactly, Evan said. We survive by thinking differently. The alien fleet returned, larger this time and more coordinated. Their goal was clear: take control of Earth or destroy it. Ships darkened the void, moving with perfect precision, or so they thought. Humans did not panic. Ships launched from Earth in waves, small fighters mixed with converted freighters, training ships, and even cargo vessels. Each unit moved in unpredictable patterns. Gravity slingshots, mirror decoys, and evasive maneuvers kept the alien fleet off balance. Evan was in the control room of Aurora, overseeing repairs and adjustments for the smaller ships. Sareth stood beside him, recording data in real time. You cannot calculate their behavior, Sareth said. Their fleet is chaotic, yet effective. That's humans, Evan replied. We're messy, but we get results. The first wave of combat began. Alien ships unleashed beams of energy. Automated defenses failed against human unpredictability, but humans fought back with improvisation. Pilots guided their ships through narrow asteroid fields using debris as cover. Engineers used magnetic nets to redirect enemy drones into each other. Evan directed repair teams on the fly, moving between ships as sparks flew and hulls shook. Civilians worked alongside soldiers, proving that experience and courage mattered more than training alone. Sareth recorded every moment, noting that humans did not follow protocol. They created their own. In doing so, they outsmarted a fleet designed to anticipate logical responses. They are beyond expected parameters, Sarah said. Yeah, Evan replied, tightening a clamp on a reactor core. We tend to surprise people. During the battle, a Harvester-class probe appeared again, attempting to disrupt communications. It had been damaged before, but it had repaired itself partially. It scanned Earth's defenses, expecting humans to panic. It was wrong. Evan and Sareth worked together to use old space-based sensors to track the probe. Using improvised coding, they sent back false readings that lured the probe into a trap. Human ships struck it precisely. Disabling its primary systems, the probe emitted a pulse that should have disabled communications, but humans had already switched to redundant networks, DIA. Every step taken by the alien fleet was met with unexpected human counteraction. Sareth's glowing eyes widened. Be predicted. Evan smiled. That's the point. The alien fleet grew frustrated. Their perfectly calculated strikes failed repeatedly. Ships assumed to be destroyed reappeared in unexpected positions. Human fleets split and regrouped with astonishing speed. Civilians and soldiers acted as one unit, improvising constantly. Sareth began to understand something critical. Humans did not survive because they were stronger. They survived because they were relentless. They refused to surrender, refused to wait for instructions, and refused to let fear control them. They adapt under extreme conditions, Sareth said softly. They innovate in ways no model can account for. Now you get it, Evan replied, leaning back. That's humanity. The turning point came when a massive alien dreadnought attempted a direct assault on Earth's orbital defenses, DAR. On paper, it should have destroyed the human fleet in minutes. It did not. Using gravity slingshots, diversionary strikes, and improvised energy shields from older ships, humans maneuvered around the dreadnought. Small fighters attacked weak points in the hull, while repair crews patched ships mid-battle. The dreadnought miscalculated every movement. It fired at empty space, collided with debris, and eventually suffered critical damage from human unpredictability. The alien fleet retreated, leaving Earth intact. Sareth recorded the entire battle. For the first time, it did not know how to classify a species as weak or strong. Humans were something entirely new. They are apex survivors, Sareth said, almost in awe. Evan nodded. You got it. After the battle, Earth's people celebrated quietly. No grand speeches. No victory parades yet. Everyone knew it was only the first encounter. But hope burned brightly. Sareth and Evan returned to Kepler 9 station. The station's corridors, once tense and orderly, now seemed calmer.
Residents?
Moved with purpose. Rebuilding, repairing, and preparing for the future. Sareth looked at Evan. I underestimated your species, it admitted. Better late than never, Evan said with a grin. Sareth processed that. Your species is unpredictable, courageous, and persistent. I have recalculated my assessment. Humans are adaptive apex survivors. They should not be underestimated. Evan nodded. Good. Let's make sure the rest of the galaxy knows too. In the weeks that followed, Sareth formally updated the Varelian Collective. Instead of labeling humans as weak, it classified them as unpredictable, innovative, and resilient. The report changed galactic policy. Species that had once disregarded humans began to study them carefully, recognizing their dangerous adaptability. Sareth returned to its duties, now viewing humans with respect rather than curiosity. It had learned something even more important. Humans did not need perfection to succeed. They thrived in chaos. Evan and Sareth returned to their shared quarters. The room had once been a place of awkward tension and rigid observation. Now, it was a space of cooperation and mutual respect. You know, Evan said, sitting on the edge of his bed, I never expected to save a station, fight aliens, and change the galaxy all in 1 month. Sareth tilted its head. And yet, your species did. Evan laughed softly. Humans do what humans have to do. We survive. We adapt. And sometimes, we even teach aliens a thing or two. Sareth's eyes glowed faintly. I will remember this lesson. Humanity is remarkable. Watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the alien fleet might return. It was on, but humans would be ready. And Sareth realized the final truth. Humans were dangerous not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they refused to give up, no matter the odds. That was the unexpected turn. No one had expected humans to rise. No one had expected an alien to recognize their true potential. And from that day forward, the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Evan smiled. Ready for whatever comes next, Sareth? Sareth's eyes glowed. Yes, we will adapt together. For the first time, the room felt like home. Not just for a human, not just for a Varelian, but for two species learning from each other. The galaxy was wide, full of threats and surprises, but humanity had survived again, proving that resilience, courage, and adaptability were its greatest weapons. Book. And somewhere in the vast blackness of space, the stars seemed a little brighter, as if they had noticed too.